Hello everyone, and today I'll be showing off a tier list, but not just any tier list. This is a community tier list. I assume you know what I mean by that, but just in case, I've gathered opinions through a large group of players from both posts on YouTube and also asking a bunch of people on the community Discord for a ranking of all the abilities, their opinions. So if you dropped your opinion for me or you answered when I asked, I greatly appreciate it. Now, before I start, though, you probably have seen that there's already 3 abilities at the very top of the list, and that's not a mistake. I put them there because, well, they're so broken that it actually harms the game. I plan to make a dedicated video about the abilities in that tier, so do forgive me for being kind of vague with the descriptions of these and just saying that they're super strong, and that's it. But also, if you use these abilities, then I humbly also ask you to not comment why they're perfectly healthy for the game. That's a joke, by the way. That's a joke. But anyways, if you find this helpful or you enjoy my content, then consider liking this video and subscribing for more. Let's get into this, shall we? I will note that I will also be ordering the list only when I've thrown all of these into the list, so keep that in mind, that these are not immediately ordered. Now let's move on to what is widely considered the worst ability in the game. Sputter Flare is downright awful, and let me explain why. Let's exclude the first skill because it's actually not that bad. Everything else in its kit has a ton of startup, very telegraphed. It doesn't help that 3 of these 4 skills knock back, making this almost impossible to use without the use of a reversal augment. But that's not all. The second skill, which is the only one that doesn't knock back, is actually just the worst skill in the game. And I got a few reasons that I can say this with absolute confidence. First reason is that it's super slow, taking almost 4 full seconds to land this skill as soon as you click the button. And the skill being blockable does not help its case with that either. Second reason is that even though it is a super slow lock-on move, it can still be dodged, excluding auto dodges and the perfect dodge mechanic, as it drops also super slow and stops tracking when it starts doing that. Its hitbox is not good enough to account for it moving in essentially slow motion. Final reason, and the most important one, is that during the active time of this skill, you may not use your 3rd or 4th skill in its entire kit. You lose out on both of your dash skills, which kills not only your mobility, but your ability to effectively apply pressure. In conclusion, if you have to use this ability, then you should throw the second skill back in your inventory so you don't misclick it. That's all I got for this ability. On to the next one. To the next ability, let's talk about Doom. Doom is something I've immediately seen very few of, and I'll still do my best to explain exactly why it is where it is. But this should be a testament on its own on what the community thinks of Doom. It's going straight into C tier. Now, this ability has 3 guard breaks, which is a plus on its part, and it's alright when it comes to close combat, but the issue with Doom is that its ability to get in close is almost non-existent. Its only move with more than 2 inches of range is pretty reasonably reactable, and also happens to be Doom's only blockable move in its entire kit. The only guard break that Doom has that heavily pressures the target when landed has to be exclusively used in combo strings to reset a combo, because its range is below average at best, with the other 2 guard breaks knocking far away. And while you can use a reverse augment to fix that issue, this also heavily limits your ability to get in close, once again, as you cannot use something like lightning, explosion, or frost for your augment if you do go this route, which heavily harms your ability to get in close after landing your first string, bringing you back to square one. That's all I can really say about Doom, though. Let's move on. Moving on from Doom, we are going to have a dialogue about Liberation Fist, or Lib Fist for short, because I don't want to say the whole name a bunch of times. Now, if I may be transparent about this, I initially thought this ability was not that bad, as its guard break was really fast, and the projectile had iframes. But as I kept digging to find stuff to talk about for this ability, the worse it kind of seemed, and I'll explain why. The guard break is strong, but only when you've applied enough pressure to the point where they're looking to just block, like panic block, whenever there's an opening to do so. This guard break falls into the same trap as some of Doom's guard breaks, where they're nearly useless outside of being uncomfortably close to your target. Lib Fist does have a projectile and a dash to kind of deal with zoners, but both have telegraphed animations, and it doesn't help that they're entirely blockable. Honestly, though, the 4th skill being a block bypass grab that doesn't send him 50 feet away from you is honestly the only reason why I wouldn't be at the bottom of C tier. But it still needs a lot of work to be put in properly. Sorry. There you go. I don't have much else to say, though, about Lidfist. Let's keep moving. Shield. My beloved. Oh, right. Shield was what I used for a long time on the game's initial release. So I'll have no problems breaking this one down for y'all. But the community has decided Shield is a C tier. The first skill, being Bunker Bash, is completely useless, as it's slow, blockable, and has a bunch of end lag whether or not you land this. Which, not being a 3rd gen or a 5th gen with a useless skill hurts a lot more than being those generations, because those ones get 5 skills instead of 4, if you didn't know. The second skill is alright. You throw your shield and it boomerangs back to you. This prevents you from using your other shield skills and also makes you unable to M12 normally, but you can actually press E to unequip your shield and do regular M1s without any punishment. The shield does not go away. I recommend every shield player do this in combat because you do lose quite a lot of pressure otherwise, and you also lose quite a lot of pressure already, which is why I recommend you pick up a subclass with a guard break, or you go for the ultimate skill Inferno, which comes from the strength skill tree. Third skill is a rush move, doesn't move very fast, and has enough end lag where you will feel it, but it is a guard break, and it's also really good for dealing with people who just mash Q in the middle of your combos to try and perfect dodge everything. And fourth skill is just a regular grab move, sends you a normal distance, has a normal startup, and a normal hitbox, normal damage too. Nothing too special. That's all I got on shield though. Forgive me for placing you here. Now let's talk about crossblades. Into C tier you go. Now the main issue is pretty similar to Doom, but the main difference is that you actually get a projectile. I mean, it's blockable, but it's something you can use at least. You're not helpless from 3 feet away. Would only use the first skill, Cross Slash, if you landed exactly the first M1 in your string into it, because it's got slightly more startup than you'd like in a blockable extension skill. Third skill is a guard break that knocks away pretty far, so I either use this as a potential combo ender if you want to reset to neutral right after, like stall a little bit, or using it as a get off me tool as it's got alright AoE. Fourth skill is essentially all you'd actually want in a combo extender, so that's why it's kind of higher up on C. It's a block bypass upward slash that when landed, launches you up to them and does a following hit, lands the enemy pretty close to you. I can't really find a flaw with this, honestly. It's just a solid move all around. If it was up to me, I might have put this a little bit higher up, but it's not. Anyways, on to the next ability. Gonna try and gun through these until we get to S tier, because let's be honest, that's what you're here for. Mizu, top of C. Literally has no range, is pretty slow. Auto grip is cool, but every gen 1 should be using Lat Tone. B tier. Voltage Nova, high damage, no guard breaks. Pile Bunker. I don't know, shield is better in my opinion. Life is 2 trash moves, 2 great moves. Gun. Good zoner, only block break is laughably slow though. Rifle. This one's a big question mark to me. I don't know, man. Sickle. High damage and not that punishable, but block break has kind of mid-range and knocks away really far. Now, where is it? Sorry. Ice. Literally the same thing as Sickle if it was a zoner with a bit more range, but a slower block break. Explosion, our first Gen 3. I love this game. Solid grab and a good mode, but block break is essentially in slow motion. And Fire Axe is the last thing in B tier. Only issue, in my opinion, is that it can't reset to neutral at all. So if you run out of stamina, it's just lights out for you. Oni. Hold up. Really, I don't really know anything about Oni, so just ask the community if you're curious why. Katana, here it is. Which is the last and the best among the first gen abilities. It's good, but hard to learn in this guard break dash move. It just moves a little too slow if you factor it in startup and lack of armor. Ash, which is, hold on, everyone said it was either C tier or S tier, so I don't know. Sakura, high combo potential, but somewhat difficult to start on a good and or defensive player. Devil's Foot, not really weak in a lot of areas. It's just not strong at anything outside of combos. So Jack of all trades, master of none type thing. And here is Grand Hands. It's a great zoner. Only issue is it's hard to string combos that don't exhaust a ton of your stamina. And Charon, mostly good. Only issue is like the dash move, the first skill he gets. When you teleport to someone's face, you can punch them and cancel the move before it hits. So that move is just entirely useless against a good player. And finally, Lightning. The teleports on it are buggy, but outside of that, it's really, really good. Now for what I assume you've all been waiting for, S tier. And I'm not even going to keep y'all waiting. Let's open with Summoner. Summoner is both great at pressuring opponents and also resetting the fight back to neutral with conjuring things like Infernal Demons and Bombers, which essentially force them to back off or get comboed again. Every combo extending move in its kit is a block break, and once the summon has been, well, summoned, you cannot cancel the move. The only thing keeping it at the bottom is its consistent startup across the board, which does leave openings, and in that startup, it is actually cancelable. Moving on, let's move on and talk about Dragon. These balls look... Sorry about that. Anyways, Dragon has... Oh, there's a lot of things going for it. It has a fast close range block break, a wide long range guard break in its beam. It has a grab move that block bypasses, and it even has a combo extension tool in its claw barrage. The only thing that's really keeping this ability, and I really mean the only things that are keeping it, is that its dash being a little bit slow for it being blockable, and the fact that its extension tool is not a block break. But almost nothing in this kit's really punishable anyway, so you can't even go wrong with just throwing these out whenever. But let's talk about the ability directly above Dragon, Ogun. Now that I've had a bad experience with this ability in the test, but as long as you don't use the third skill, you have nothing to worry about, as its spears are completely undodgeable, so you can punish whoever you want for whiffing a hit regardless of how far away they are from you, or you can use it to heavily pressure the target, which is also exacerbated by the fact that his mode increases your damage by a very considerable margin, as well as his final move, his grab, also doing a crazy amount of damage even without the buff. Once you get momentum swinging in your favor, it's practically over for your opponent. I'm not even gonna lie. Scythe is up next. Hold on, sorry. My god. This ability is absolutely crazy. You are given a move that locks on to a target and teleports them to the marked spot if they don't block it when it procs after like 2 or 3 seconds, which is accompanied by the fact that every other move in your kit guard breaks and does high damage. One of which being a 5-second long barrage that combo extends. If it wasn't obvious, I hate that so much. This ability essentially gives you full control over the pace of any fight if you go into it and play it smart. Now let's get on to the final ability. Oh, Excalibur. This honestly feels like a fever dream, because on the initial release of this game, this was one of the most mid abilities in the game, and to see where it is now is honestly crazy. Let me break down its kit for you. The first skill, Violet Rush, is a TP dash with slight startup. Unless you block it and are at the end point of this TP, or maybe they just missed you and you're right next to the end point of the TP, it is very hard to punish. The second skill it has is Azure Rush, a blockable dash that does a ton of damage. You mainly want to use this when baiting them to mash Q out of your combos, and then it starts the string all over again if you do this correctly. The third skill is Caliber, a very fast guard break with a generous hitbox for what it's meant to be, a close range guard break with a considerable damage output. This skill is why people mash dash out of your combos, by the way. The fourth skill is a wide range projectile called Excalibur. It's essentially undodgeable unless you perfect dodge it, and the initial hit is blockable, but if you don't get away from the endpoint of this projectile, it will explode on you, and that's a guard break. Does a lot of damage too. The final skill is Plasma Cutter, which makes the user leap in the air and slam the ground. You know, like Lancer from ABA, it's kind of like that. Guard breaking the enemy and then causing them to crumble if they didn't block it, giving you a combo regardless of whether they blocked it or not. I'm gonna be honest, this was almost completely unanimous on its placement. Only one person summoned something else, which was them saying it was A tier. But anyways, I hope you found this video helpful, and if you did, or maybe if you enjoyed my content too, then consider liking this video and subscribing for more. But that's all I got. Until next time.